Hello and welcome to Public Conscience. You are onto the anti-corruption program produced by the Progressive Impact Organization for Community Development, PRIMOG. PRIMOG is a civil society organization working to promote good governance, participation, and accountability in Nigeria. And I am Chidozie Obunnaya, and I'm with my colleague, Esther Bassi.
A warm welcome to the program wherever you're listening to us.
On Public Conscience, we seek to evolve a corruption-free society through the amplification of investigative corruption stories by our partner media organizations and by alerting citizens and the government to their democratic actions against it. We equally promote integrity by amplifying rare cases of the display of honesty by public and private individuals in the course of their normal activities. We appreciate the MacArthur Foundation for supporting the production of this program.
In a country devastated by decades of power supply shortages, a lot of Nigerians have had to get used to a world where electricity is not always available. With a population of over 200 million people, Nigeria has the lowest access to electricity globally, as about 92 million persons live in darkness or have alternative power sources.
And that is why our focus in today's program is on the impact of corruption in the electricity sector and how stakeholders and citizens can play their roles in curbing corruption, as well as other unwholesome acts rocking the sector.
No doubt, the grim state of the electricity sector in Nigeria continues to impact productivity adversely and economic activities, and also cost manufacturers a lot. And this is despite years of humongous financial investment and interventions by government. We aim to draw government, stakeholders, and citizens' attention to the impact of corruption on the electricity sector to find a lasting solution to the challenges of the electricity sector in Nigeria.
And it is worth noting that the government, stakeholders, that is, power generation, transmission, and distribution companies, and citizens have all been blamed for their different roles in the electricity sector at one point or the other over the corruption happening there. But for you out there, why do you think Nigerians continue to suffer prolonged blackouts despite all the efforts to improve the power sector over the years? Do you think we have the right policies and framework to fight irregularities and corruption in the power sector? Do you know that you add to the problem if you are still indulging in illegal connection or tampering with your electricity meter or other illegal acts? Who do you think we should blame for Nigeria's years of misfortune in electricity supply and management? Feel free to share your thoughts with us when we open our phone line.
Be ready to join us through phone and text messages during this conversation. The phone lines or the WhatsApp phone line to send your message is 09022656167. That is 09022656167. Please indicate your name and your location when sending your message. This number is for messages only.
Please begin to send your messages as soon as possible to 09022656167, and that is 09022656167. We will give out the numbers to call shortly.
If you just joined us, we are looking at the impact of corruption in the electricity sector and how stakeholders and citizens can play their roles in curbing corruption and other unwholesome acts upsetting the sector. Regular and interrupted access to electricity is a fundamental human right. Electricity is an essential public service, but millions of Nigerians continue to pay for price for corruption in the electricity sector, staying in darkness.
Nigerians are groaning under increased electricity tariff. And don't forget that Discos, about a fortnight ago, apologized to Nigerians for prolonged power outages across the country. To help us unpack these issues and more, we are joined by the National Secretary of Nigeria Electricity Consumers Advocacy Network, NECAN, Uket Obonga. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me.
We also have in our midst the Regulatory Manager at the Association of Nigeria Electricity Distributors, ANED, Barrister Tunji Adeyeye.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for making our time to be part of our program today. Okay, let's get this started with you. Barrister, one of your mandates is to facilitate the setting of the industry standard for discos, but you hold these discos together. You are the umbrella body. Why are Nigerians still suffering from epileptic power supply, and how is corruption affecting the power sector all this while?
Okay, thank you so much. All right. The way to start is to, first of all, establish the background. The electricity demands of Nigerian has been largely unmet for four major reasons. One, policy issues, historical policy issues, policy somersault. When we privatized, regulatory issues came along, financial issues, financing the sector issues came along, as well as also operational issues. Then, having laid that background, I want to say from where I sit now, and also because of the intervention that we've done through funds that we've gotten, MacArthur Foundation, AFDB, a couple of international funds that have helped us to be able to first mention the problem within the sector. First, as a subsector from the discourse perspective, then you go to generation, you go to transmission, has given us hope that the glass is half full, not half empty. And I say this because of the recent event that has happened in the power sector. You will be aware of the Presidential Power Initiative, which is a Siemens project. That project has injected a lot of solution. I bet it will take time for it to materialize. So I'll tell you where they are today. Today, they've actually, dimension where are the bottlenecks, the constraints at the transmission level, at the generation level, and at the disco level. And they're trying to address that, bringing in first equipment to freeze the bottleneck or the capacity issues that we have at all the key chain block of the sector. So where there is generation constraint, where they will have generation capacity, but you cannot put it on a transmission line, that project is trying to address that issue. Where you have line limitations, your line, your relay coordinators issues, equipment is being addressed to remove those constraints, and then the interface issue between transmission and discos is being addressed. On top of that, there's recently loan that was given to TCN through the discos to address immediately the removal of this constraint, so that when there's generation, it can flow through transmission line to the discos and then to the public. So I say today, we haven't met the electricity requirement of Nigerians, but it's getting better, and hope is even nearer than we thought. And as a matter of fact, if you look at some areas and some customers today, they will tell you that there has been clearly appreciation and improvement. We are not there yet. So I just say that to tell you that, okay, there are clearly challenges, but at least we are now getting it right. We just need manifestation of time for things to start getting improved. Because again, electricity is such a business that even if you have all the money today to fix it, you still need time. It takes time to get all those issues solved. Now, to answer your question about how does corruption impact, it does impact a lot, and critically so, because you see, electricity is a product that you cannot store. So the culture of usage and the culture of responsibility of payment is key, and that largely rests on the customer. So you have a very high situation where you see people steal electricity, both the high and the low, the mighty and the common men, the welders, the sawmillers, all sort of people, even normal people, bypassing meter and all of that. And because we don't have the type of very concise and quick legislation to deal with energy tampering and energy theft in Nigeria, this problem is become so pervasive that it's actually now even impacting on the efficiency of the discos and the entire value chain. So, we've been, like you said, that we try to create standard and, create, improvement and efficiency within the discos. We've been lobbying the National Assembly for years to even enact, a legislative energy theft legislation like you have in Ghana or Togo, where you have instant mobile call that, adjudicate issues and set instant penalty to deter others from doing this. But this has not.
Are you telling me that we don't have a legislation to deal with energy theft?
So we have the miscellaneous act that deals with electricity, but those laws are general, so they are not specific, and also the punishment prescribed for those laws are a bit excessive. That in practicality, the police are actually reluctant to send somebody to jail for 20 years or 30 years for tampering because they feel it's unjust, also because of the historical lack of power. But what we are saying, the proposition that we put before National Assembly is an energy theft and vandalism law that are addressed instantly with very strict penalty that will serve as disincentive, like the application of mobile court. So if you catch somebody now that has stolen the electricity or that has tampered with electrical installation or that has vandalized electrical network, the process of prosecuting and bring the person to book before the law and our judicial system is long, and it does not necessarily address, that inefficiency that happens in that space, and it's not enough also to desensitize people that do it. So if we have an electricity theft law that creates instant mobile court, that once you are, you are accused, there's instant adjudication of that situation, and there's a pronouncement and there's a penalty, and then that will in fact be more productive, and that's the kind of thing
But
that
can
we
there be electricity theft without collaboration of the insiders, that is, staff of the discos?
Okay, so okay, it's both ways. You have instances, and this is very, very rampant. We have instances where you have any would-be electrician, even people that don't know anything about electricity, will just use local knowledge to say, okay, I can peel off my wire, hang it to the conductors that are on the pole, and then connect it to my house and get electricity. There are people who have those basic knowledge that are still in electricity. There are also instances of former and both active electricity worker that also connive either for their own indiscipline and selfish reason to enrich their pocket in an illegal way, to then go and sabotage electricity supply within areas and collect money. There are instances of that. So it's both ways. And our culture and attitude to this is really accepting, because people see electricity as if it's a right and not a product. But electricity is a product that has to be paid for.
Does ANED have any form of jurisdiction over when some of these acts are committed? Do you have any input to make to the discourse?
Okay, so what we've done with the discourse and the 11 of them, we have different levels of capacity development and specialized ed meeting, roundtable seminars, all those kind of training, just to encourage best practices within the system as a subsector. So we have currently we have a group of energy audit guys, energy theft guys, and we expose them to the international standard of how to detect electricity bypass, electricity theft, and what to do, and how to work with local, law enforcement, especially the judicial system, educate the magistrate, the high court judges on electricity issues, because sometimes our court also don't have enough specialist, judges so we engage with the discourse and also the judiciary to expose them to the intricacies and technicalities of all these issues. Sometimes you may not even know what's the bypass. If they say, somebody has a meter and yet it's still selling electricity, a judge will say, but it's buying credit. But because there are technicalities involved, we needed to do all of that. That's ongoing. It's a constant improvement that we're doing. So other intervention we are doing also is to encourage the discourse to have a whistleblowing policy. And all of them do have it, such that they encourage anybody. If you see something wrong, it has to be wrong. Report, come say something to us, and they will immediately activate the technical group or guys to go check and try to resolve or discourage whatever is going
I don't
on.
know if you've been getting results from the whistleblowing policy that you advise the discourse to have. what is the progress so far?
Okay, so it's a mixed bag actually. So you have instances of where people actually blow whistle, and then when we try to enforce, you say, please, I don't want him to lose his job. I don't want him to lose his source of income. He has a family. Don't prosecute. So it's a mixed bag. But indeed, we are
back to you. But then let's get to Gonga. Despite investment in the power sector over the years, Nigerians' electricity supply remains abysmally low. Where did we get things wrong as a nation? Why are we still here?
Before I answer your question, I want to touch on some of the things he said.
Okay, please go ahead.
Corruption in the power sector is in 3 areas. Government stroke the regulator, the operator, the discos particularly, then of course consumers. The 3 are involved. Nigeria spent $16 billion to rev generation, distribution, and whatever to 4,000 megawatts. Brazil spent $12 billion to generate 12,000 megawatts of electricity. From 1999 till date, according to estimates and the report of a survey of next year power, 1.1 trillion naira has been lost through corruption. Let's come down to the corruption in government. Award of shady contracts, over-bloated contracts, and that is called led to this $16 billion spent, and we can only generate 4,000 megawatts and distribute. Incompetent. Once upon a time, we had an accountant being made the head of a highly technical organization like TCN. TCN itself, we read in the papers, there's so much, is reeking with corrupt practices. That's why people were asking that. We are talking of corruption. You are here to let Nigerians to know what is going on in the power sector, how corruption is killing the sector. Then you come to the operators.
You mentioned TCN. Do you have something in specific?
We were here when we were told that TCN imported transmission transformers, and they started blowing up, one in Ejibo, one in Borno State, that cost no less than $10 million to put in place. And all the money pumped into that sector, nothing has happened. You have a blame game. The Gencos will tell you we can generate so quantum of energy, but go down to the grid, which is manned by TCN, they cannot push this energy through. Then TCN will blame the discos. It's corruption. Now come to the operators, the discos themselves. Number one, the discos lack financial capacity. I repeat, financial capacity. In the beginning, they came on board and took over our national assets because those who made the privatization exercise believed that they had the financial capacity. He thought of operation, policy, operation, and capacity. The capacity there is that they lack the financial capacity. If meter is so important as a tool, a revenue assurance tool, and the discos cannot meter, this is what makes you to recover your revenue, the energy you sold out. The meter measures energy received, energy utilized. Right. But you don't have the capacity. And that is called led to policy interventions that from the, the regulator and the federal government of Nigeria that injected money. Through CAPME, consumers were made to pay. MAP, meter providers, consumers have been made to pay. And remember that none of their vesting contract has been amended. It's not amended. The responsibility to meter is exclusively that of the discos. But because they say they don't happen to do that, that is why consumers are being made. And even when consumers pay for these meters, we still have issues. I said this when we went to the World Bank program, and I showed evidence where people who are paid for meters in 2015 under CAPME have not been metered. And the regulation says after 60 days you pay. You have, the disco will not give you estimated bill, the disco will not disconnect you, but these things are going on. That is corruption.
Okay, so
Then, hold on, you are talking, let Nigerians know what is going on in the sector with regards to corruption. If you look at the current MITO 2020, that gave rise to what we call service bands and service reflective tariff or service-based tariff. The meaning of that is simple. The discos committed that those of us in band A, they are going to supply to us minimum of 20 hours in a day. Minimum 20 hours in a day. You say they were complaining and were apologizing to Nigerians, they are unable to supply this. But section 19 for AEDC, adjustment of customer ban, says where the disco fails to supply electricity to the consumer for 60 days, the customers so affected will be adjusted to the ban. I conducted a survey in the pillar here in Area 11 using some hotels. And for 6 months, none of those hotels had 20 hours of electricity supply. I said I conducted a survey. I have the report.
Okay.
So now, that is corruption. Now, we conducted a survey under HOFA. And I surveyed 120 hotels in Abuja who lost 380-something million to AEDC on billing based on corruption. What do I mean? In 2015, there is a tariff part. Please hold on. There's a tariff part that says in 2016, this is what we are going to bill. In 2017, this is what we are going to bill. For instance, for C2 MD customers, their tariff was 47 naira 9 kobo. And they were supposed to come down in 2017 to 45 naira 80 something kobo. In 2018, bill the customers on 35 naira 88 kobo. But what did the discos do? Because they saw that this thing was going down, they remain at what? 47 naira 9 kobo against the order, the extant order.
Okay.
And there's a provision of that MITO that says the provisions of this MITO shall remain in force until another order. There was no other order, but they violated. And as a result, customers lost a lot of money to them. Apart from that, we know what I am saying, I'm not speculating. I have evidence.
Okay, so it's
that consumers are billed on tariff rates other than what they belong to.
Okay, now you brought up the tariffs because there's been a lot of talk about tariff. Some people believe that we are overbilling or overbilled and all that. Maybe Mr. Barrister Adeye will come in there. Citizens are groaning under the federal government's approval of tariff increases lately. And but how do you think this increase will contribute to corruption in the sector? And also, some organization went to court saying that this is unlawful. Okay. How do you react to that?
Okay, I'm happy that my dear brother and comrade brought up the issues of tariff, and I'm very happy that he said he did a survey. But I'll answer your question. Then, of course, I will throw some, clarity to some of the things that I refer to. Okay, electricity market is a very regulated market. We have NEC, Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, who decide tariff on behalf of government. And that's one of the policy mistake and historical mistake that we had from beginning. When we privatized electricity, we then added political consideration and not make the price of electricity to be reflective of the cost of production. That is one of the bedrock problem that we have. So you couldn't have even gotten any efficiency from beginning, because if you say from day of starting business, let's use bread and bread seller, and so you're a baker, you're baking bread, and then you say, okay, the cost of your baking your bread, the production is 100 naira, but somebody now tells you cannot sell it 100 naira, sell it at 50 kobo. you are making loss from the more you cannot be efficient. But and apart from that, NEC also have two major regulatory role by law, by the Electricity Reform Act, ESPRA, right, to review tariff majorly and minorly every 6 months, right? So because there were a lot of political intervention, NEC did not retouch tariff for 6 years. And yet, they expected energy to flow to Nigeria when you cannot then pay the old chain. You can't pay for the gas that that the generators are using to generate the gas. You can't pay for the generator. You can't pay transmission because your tariff is defective from beginning. So that's where the problem is. Fast forward, NEC haven't realized and wanting to reset the system with a lot of hard work that have gone in through the Presidential Task Force on Power, through the coordination of the Office of the Vice President, through the Office of the President, through the CBN, through Minister of Finance, the discos themselves, all the sector. Then look at the problem and say, okay, now these are the challenges. How do we begin to address them? One of the things that came out of that roundtable was, first of all, we need to start adjusting tariff to meet inflation, forex, and the reality of production of electricity in Nigeria. And that's what NEC has clearly tried to do, even though it's still not a perfect solution in terms of the costs are still not reflective, but at least there's now been a review, right? So with a review, we then have to ask a question. Does the review, the prices that we have, commensurate to service? And if it comes to that, then of course, as this goes, guys, I would say it is our responsibility to make sure that our services indeed do match the prices that people are paying for. But don't forget also that the capacity to deliver electricity is entirely dependent on what we get from the generator. And likely till date, we are still struggling with the volume of electricity we are generating.
So, but ANED is aware that there's been tariff increase.
Of course, tariff are reviewed or are increased by the other multi-year tariff order, MITO. And you cannot, that's the mechanism to increase electricity. And they do that taking into consideration the inflation, the forex, the available volume of electricity in the market, the cost of operation before the NEC review that. And even I'm saying to you today that despite that you have the service-based tariff that is mentioned about, despite you have the minor reviews that has happened, it's still not a perfect situation, but DISCOs have the obligation to make sure they deliver that service. And if you take a sample, and I'm happy to refer to a survey, you see, when you do a survey, you have to do a technical survey that analyzes the quantum of electricity that enter a place. You see, some customer may have individual challenges. They may have, transformer challenges. They may have line challenges. So it doesn't mean that if you do a survey of hotels in a particular area, did you measure the quantum of energy that enter the whole area? A hotel might not get, but the customer next to the hotel might get.
Forgive me.
We went to the system operator. We got into your distribution, your transformers.
Forgive me.
We got into your distribution transformers in the area.
I will
involved.
Open up this conversation again. Forgive me to jump in here, but it's also good to bring in the voices of Nigerians, their position, because of this. In the course of getting ready for this program, we also went to the street to find out if they feel okay with the billings, if they feel that the electricity companies are actually ripping them off or supplying what they should supply. Let's take a listen to that voice, what the people have to say out there on the street.
Voices against corruption. Let the people speak.
Hello and welcome to Primark's public feedback series on corruption, called Voices Against Corruption. And we ask, do you think the electricity companies are ripping off consumers through their billings?
In Nigeria, it's a two-way thing. Let me say 50-50. Somehow they are ripping and somehow they are not ripping. Because we don't really have that facility to provide that light in Nigeria. Okay, even if we want to have it, the government can provide it. Nigerians are very strong that we face any challenges that come our way. Whether it's lights, petrol, or anything, house rent, we always face it. The problem now we have is that give us lights. We are ready to pay.
When you calculate the salary or the income you earn, at the end of the day, the estimated bill or the bill they bring, has taken all the money.
Yeah, surely they are reaping a lot. Take for instance, in one of my houses, we've not been able to get electricity for the past 3 weeks. And when it happens like that, they used to bring outrageous bills. Despite the fact that we did not use for 3 weeks in a month, they will still bring a very outrageous bill. In a situation where I'm paying 2,000 naira, and I'm to use the 2,000 naira for a month, and I'm giving only one week out of 4 weeks. So the remaining 3 weeks is a rip-off.
No, I won't call it ripping off. But even though it's a bit high, on the high side, if they can just at least cool it off a little, it will. Because there's light now. The light is well improved. You just put small money and before you know it, the money is gone and all of that. But I think if there will be some adjustments at least with the current situation in the country, it will help a lot.
Yes, they're overcharging us. That is just the truth. They are charging over. How? Because from last year, the bill changed. We were paying 4,000 naira before, but today we are paying 12,000 naira. For one person, I'm telling you, the forgotten man, 12,000 naira we're paying. So I couldn't cope up. They now come and cut the light. We asked for this prepaid meter. They didn't give us. Do you understand? So that is just the challenges we are facing in this country.
So I believe they are billing us too much. You buy a unit, how many units? I think 7 or 19 unit. Formerly was 19 units by 1,000, but now it's about 14 units or less than, or 15 units or so. So, and whenever you want to maybe you enjoy fan, you want to enjoy maybe air condition, before you know, within a twinkling of an eye, you know the unit will be, you know, you have to buy another one. You'll be off. You have to buy another one. So we really need to do something. Government need to at least to pay some subsidy to help the citizen to enjoy life.
Primark's public feedback on corruption in Nigeria is produced with support from MacArthur Foundation.
Okay, that was Voices of Nigerians out there laying their opinion on if electricity companies were ripping them off through their billings. But back in the studio, I still have Barrister Tunji Adeye and Mr. Oket Olonga. Thank you for staying with us.
Thank you.
Quickly, before I get your responses, your reaction to the Vox Pop, please, let's open up the phone line so that listener will also join the conversation. A lot has been said, and I know you'll be itching to join us. And we want to feel your pulse out there. Why do you think Nigerians continue to suffer blackouts despite efforts to improve the power sector over the years? Do you think we have the right policies and framework to fight irregularities and corruption in the power sector? Do you know that you add to the problems if you indulge in illegal connection or tampering with your electricity meters? We have our first callers. Let's see who is there. Hello? Your name and where you are calling from? Okay, let's hear you in 1 minute.
Last week, there's no 2 ways about it. 2 weeks ago, the bill was sent to my house and we had to pay back 12,000 naira. Before now, we're paying less than 2,000. And before you go, we came back again and increased it to 3,000. And I asked the question, what is the problem? You know, people are not able to calculate very well. Why do we are not having the supply? You know that in Nigeria, in Kibirada, to be precise, we hardly have light there for the past 2 months. They bring it 2 a.m., they take it 4:30, and that will be till the next day.
Let me ask you, are you on estimated billing?
Estimated billing.
Okay. No problem. I thank you for reaching us out. We heard you.
I've sent messages to AEDC WhatsApp more than 20 times. There's no, and the other side of Lugo was hard lights regularly, but we don't have.
Okay, like some of this complaint, you can send us a message to our phone line. We will see what we can, put together your complaints and also let AEDC know. Thank you for joining the conversation.
So does it? We have a message from
Okay.
Taiwo.
That looks like an epistle.
It's not
Please.
so long. Okay, so he said, thanking you at Primark for organizing the town hall on the 28th of September 2019 to further educate the customers and make a definite resolutions. My pains is the deliberate unreadiness of the distribution company at AEDC. Does it please let me finish? To punish power theft. Imagine the expository done by our community task force on bypass. We have the management of AEDC. What have the management of AEDC done? More frustrating is the shameless defense put up by the former GM corporate communication.
Okay, we will leave it there, Esther. Let's take this call. Hello, your name and where you're calling from?
Okay, I'm using a studio because I'm a very popular person in this sector.
Okay.
My name is Kule.
Okay. Okay.
I think I know Mr. Buket, the Secretary of NECAN, and who may involved in one way or the other in some of the analysis in the power sector. Sometimes it's funny when people come and talk about cost-effective tariffs, and you ask yourself, was there a model that was used in the initial title to determine what the cost of the tariff? When the disco was coming, you had a 10 years plan. And when you're coming into a business, you're expected to invest into it. And business in electricity is not something that in 5 years you reap your investment. It's a long-term investment. Unfortunately, we could look around and you can see what are the new investments, what are the upgrades that they have done in the sector. That will tell you how far they can get value for their money. Now, electricity is a good business, but if you do not upgrade your network, you do not do standard things into your system, you will lose half of the money you're supposed to get to your customer along the road. Now, if your lines are not upgraded, you still have your battery network all around.
Okay.
Now, let's talk about what we've got India. How are they
Kule, you may just have to wrap up in 15 seconds.
So now the challenge we are having, cost effective or no cost effective, it is not the solution. The point is we need not to be very effective in regulation and enforcement of whatever order it is. As a in terms of service necessary, that are not have the methodology.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much. We are glad you could join us. So let's get back and before some other calls come. Oh, gentlemen, just hold on for me. I'll come back to you. Let me take this call also. Hello.
My name is Ayo from Papi.
Okay, let's hear you, Ayo, in 1 minute.
They are not kind at all. In our area, somebody registered the house. He hasn't even completed the house. He registered for meter. And instead for them to bring meter, they did not bring the meter. The house that nobody is inside. They are now bringing bills from 2021 to 2000. When the person entered the house this year, they now brought bill of 200,000. The house has not been used. No, it didn't drop any light. So how is the person going to go? He has went to their office for more than many times that is to rectify this thing, that he wanted to drop the light now. Anytime it has been dropped, you continue giving bill for the house uncompleted building.
Okay, thank you for reaching us. Like I said before, that you can send us a message so that we can push out this message or your complaints to AEDC. But let's take this call. I'll give out the number. Hello? Your name and where you're calling from?
My name is Taiwo. I cannot off the mic to resolve the problem in the power distribution network. Well, I not comment Primark for educating the citizens. But the main question is, Nigerians are ready to cooperate. If only AEC can go all out to the standard, creating pressure from their staff also to the customers. Because this power self issue is becoming embarrassing. Imagine our community went all out, flat out it and individuals. We gave all this evidence to the government of AEC. Nothing was done. And I speak to you, AEC management is criminally migrating customers who are on band C to
ban the B and A within the same regulatory settlement. How do we address all of this?
How do you say criminally migrating customers?
Ban C to ban D and A, which is on a higher tariff. On higher tariff. And as I put to you, ABC next. As we say in the Palombo dance, they are yet to compel ABC for another of next since 2020.
All right, we have to leave it there, Mr. Taiwo. Thank you so much for calling. We have time is not really our friend here, but we have to get over to our guests to respond to some of these issues thrown up by the callers. Let me start with Uket.
Quickly, he talked about policy. The problem we have in the power sector currently is that we have a weak governance structure or regulatory structure. Like he said, we have had multi-year tariff orders from MITO 2008, MITO 2.0, MITO 2.1 to the current MITO. And each MITO, it is the distribution companies who compute and apply for tariff increase. If you give us this price, this is what we are going to do. You give us this price, this is what we are going to do. Okay, go back to quarterly reports of NEC. You discover that in most, I think 2018 or so, 6 quarterly reports of NEC said all the discos, none of them met their performance targets. None. And yet, you will reward them by giving them acceding to their applications. It is not the NAC that sits down there to fix the rates for them. Yes, they fix the rate, but they apply for this tariff.
Let me jump in here. Because send a message to 09022656167. I will take it slowly.
Please do.
09022656167. That is 09022656167. And we'll be okay. Yes, let's get Barrister's reaction, Barrister Adeye's reaction to all that has been said. And when I come back, when I come back to you, you tell me, you talked a lot about corruption in the sector. You tell me how we can change it, because we must make progress by changing the system.
Okay, thank you. Quickly, I just want to react to the feedback from customers, beautiful customer Nigerians out there. I see the problems that they've identified in 3 phases. 1, customer service issue. Secondly, the issue of price. And of course, the availability of electricity. I'm happy to hear feedback that, in fact, majority of the complaint or feedback that they give is about pricing, which means that at least there's supply, there's improvement. Now, for those who says that, they have estimated billing issues or, a customer service issue, that's the responsibility of the DISCO. It's very fixable. It's not a big problem. You just need to engage the management. They have customer service. They must attend to your problem. If, also on that customer service issue, there's a regulation of NEC which says capping of estimated billing. If you are billed over more than you are supposed to bill, please report to NEC, copy the DISCOs. You have mechanism to resolve those problems. Now, let me speak quickly to the issue of pricing. The truth and the sad reality is that even today, our price of electricity is the cheapest in the sub-West African region, is the cheapest in Africa, is the cheapest in the world. That's a fact. Now, I'm not saying that government should increase prices, but there are other things that government can do to alleviate the price issues for customers. In Europe right now, from London to Ireland to Germany to everywhere, government is giving electricity credit subsidy directly to their citizens because of the impact of the Ukraine-Russian war. We don't have all of that here.
We can actually copy that from what
those are incentives that you can do. But you see, if you then artificially lower electricity tariff, you will not drive the efficiency that you seek to drive. One of the callers mentioned the ATC and C loss reduction and trajectory or performance.
All right.
There are very clear evidence. I can give you Ikeja, Eko are doing well in the ATC and C reduction. That's because
we really do not have much time.
Because of time, just one word from you on what we must do to also take care of corruption?
Okay.
Tackle corruption in the sector, in the electricity
Two things.
sector?
There has to be change in attitude, in culture of our people. Really, electricity infrastructure are within the people. The sabotage and the corruption that goes, it goes in conjunction and connivance with people, with ourselves. So we must stand vehemently against anything that is corrupt, anything that we, even if it's beneficial to us in the short term, we must stand against it. And again, our National Assembly must pass the energy theft and vandalism law that is workable, that is practicable, that is enforceable. That's what we need to do. Thank you.
Let's get you to, let's anchor on your solution on how we can eradicate corruption.
In 1 minute, please.
Number one,
in the sector.
The regulatory institution must be strengthened. In fact, it should be overhauled. Let round pegs be put in the round holes. Let Nigerians who are willing and ready and have the capacity to do the work, do the work. Number two, we are talking of energy theft and all these things. There's technology, for crying out loud. There's technology you can deploy. The former MD of AEDC was on the verge of deploying technology to monitor lines and their meters. So you don't need to jump up and down. You have technology to, if somebody is tampering with your line anywhere, it is detected in your face. If somebody is tampering with the meter bypass, it is detected. This is doable. They don't have the capacity to recruit people to what they call line tracers. How many people do they have in their employment? Okay. Good technology. Then number, how do I call it? The last one is for DISCOs, the federal government, to pin their legs down, to carry out the review. There was supposed a review of the power sector privatization. I'm not saying cancellation. Review after 5 years. It has not been done up to this moment because you are traveling on a wrong trajectory.
Thank you so much. Because of our time, it's fast spent, and I'm sure Barrister Ade agrees with you on some of the issues you raised that in covering corruption in the sector, but our time is fast spent. We have to go.
Please visit our news website, primognews.org. That is primognews.org for all the details of our reports and interviews. Visit our website, www.primog.org, to get all the information about Primog.
And you can watch our videos on Primog TV, our YouTube channel. Please subscribe to get reminders when we have a new post. We appreciate our guests. We have the Uket Ubonga, who is the Secretary of Nigeria Electricity Consumers Advocacy Network, NICAN. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you very much.
All right. We also thank the Regulatory Manager of the Association of Nigerian Electricity Distributors, ANED, Barrister Tunji Adeyeye.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Public Conscience has the support of the John D. and Catherine T. MacArthur Foundation, committed to building a more just, verdant and peaceful world. Get more information about the foundation on its website, macfound.org.
Join us again here next week for another episode of Public Conscience. And remember to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and on Instagram @Official Primog. I am Esther Bassi.
And remember that birth registration and birth certificate are both free if your child is under 18. Please help stop the corruption in birth registration and do not pay for birth certificate. Also remember that you can give us information or hints about corrupt acts through our phone at 09022656167 or info@primog.org. I am Chidozie Ogbonnaya. Stay safe.